Contractor general liability is still a hard market. Renewals are coming back with higher premiums, tighter terms, and more carriers asking questions they didn't ask 3 years ago. That's the environment. But before any of that matters, you have to be licensed. And in Louisiana, your license and your insurance are tied together in a way that a lot of contractors don't find out about until it's holding up a job. If you do construction work in Louisiana, there's a number in your head about when you need a license. For most guys, it's $50,000. And for a lot of you, that number is right. But if you're electrical, mechanical, or plumbing, it's not 50, it's 10. It doesn't take long to make that much. Today, I'm walking through what the State Licensing Board actually requires in 2026, who has to file insurance with them, and why the certificate is what usually holds people up. If this is useful, then subscribe. I do this every Tuesday. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors has 4 basic license types. Commercial, which is $50,000 or more on a commercial purpose project. That's the total value, including labor and materials. Subcontractors and special trades on a commercial job hit the same $50,000. Residential construction over $50,000. Home improvement registration, that's work on an existing residential structure, and that's $7,500 or more, but under $50,000. Once you cross $50,000 on that existing structure, you're into residential license territory. Mold remediation, $7,500 and up. Now the exceptions, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, over $10,000, including labor and materials, not 50, 10. If you're a plumber running a commercial job, your number is a fifth of what everybody around you is quoting. Then there's asbestos, hazardous waste, lead-based paint abatement, and underground storage tanks, $1. There is no threshold. If you're doing that work, you're licensed for it. One more thing on the numbers. You will find sites out there that say that Louisiana residential threshold is $75,000. The board's own page says 50, and I'm not here to argue with anybody's website. It's up to you to confirm it on the board site at lslbc.louisiana.gov rather than from a YouTube video. I checked everything I'm telling you today against the board on August 10th, 2026. The board handles this differently depending on which license you're applying for. If you're applying for a residential license, a home improvement registration, or a mold remediation license, you have to file proof of general liability and workers' comp with the board. That's part of getting the license. If you're applying for a commercial license, you don't file insurance with the board at all. That surprises people in both directions. Residential guys assume the state doesn't care about their insurance, but believe me, it does. It's a condition of the license. Commercial guys assume that because nobody asked for a certificate, they must be fine. Nobody asking is not the same thing as nobody requiring. The board didn't ask. The general contractor on your next job absolutely will. For the licenses that do require it, $100,000 in general liability for residential and home improvement. $50,000 for mold remediation and workers' compensation, which has no minimum dollar amount, but is required with no exception and no exemptions. $100,000 is the number it gets you licensed. Think about what that covers on a real job. One serious injury or one water loss in a finished home will run through $100,000 of general liability before the adjuster even closes the file. And every real contract you sign is going to ask for more than that. Your GC wants $1 million. The property owner wants $1 million. The lender has its own number, and it's usually in that neighborhood too. So the $100,000 satisfies the board. It doesn't have much to do with what a job actually exposes you to. That number comes from your contract, and it's a different conversation with a different party. Clearing one doesn't mean you cleared the other. Now, the part that actually holds people up, which is almost never the coverage, it's the paperwork. The board will not accept your certificate from you. It has to be emailed by your insurance agent directly. You can't upload it with your application. If you try, it doesn't count, and your file sits, and you're wondering what's going on because they're not going to tell you. The name on the certificate has to be the exact name of the applicant, not your DBA, the exact name on the application. The certificate holder has to be the board at their Baton Rouge address, and the board wants specific language in the description of operations. So this is not a certificate you print off a portal and forward, and it isn't one and done. You need continuous coverage the whole time your license is active. You send a certificate at application, you send one at license renewal, and you send one every time your policy renews, which for most of you is not the same month that your license renewal happens. That last one is where people get caught. Their policy renews in March, their license renews in October, and nobody sends the March certificate. And then something is wrong with the license and nobody knows why. 3 things to do this week. 1, find your license type and confirm your actual threshold on the board's site. 2, pull up your current certificate and look at 2 fields. Is the insured name exactly right? And is the board listed as a certificate holder? 3, call your agent and ask 1 question. When my policy renews, who sends the new certificate to the board? If the answer is unclear, that is your gap. I put together a free Louisiana Contractor insurance guide that covers this in writing. Links in the description and in the first comment. And if you want somebody to look at your certificate and your contract at the same time, which is really the only way to know if you're covered for what you signed, the booking link is right there too. This is general information, not legal or licensing advice. Check your own situation. Make sure you have the most up-to-date information.